This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
The motion is that the committee invite the whistleblower, the individual who contacted the committee to identify wrongdoings at Sustainable Development Technologies Canada, to provide their testimony, and that the committee make every accommodation necessary to facilitate the witness testimony in public before Friday, December 1st, 2023. Chair, it's very this is a very straightforward motion about an issue that is incredibly serious. The report from Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton that was commissioned after the whistleblower brought these concerns forward to the Prime Minister's Department, the PCO, identifies numerous issues that, of course, though they didn't give rise to the minister or the government taking action and removing anyone from the board, though we heard the CFO for the industry minister say that they didn't have confidence in the board and that people needed to be fired, nobody was fired. Reading from it directly, it says that from March 20th to September 1st, RCGT conducted a fact-finding exercise. And that's the first place I want to pause, because this is what the minister described as a forensic audit. But it's not a forensic audit. But in RCGT's own section 1.1, it calls it a fact-finding exercise. And there's a big difference between a fact-finding exercise and a forensic audit. And that's, of course, why the Auditor General is going to look into this, because it says there were sufficient facts to support a subsequent due process investigation of the allegations as permitted under ISED's authority granted by the contribution agreement between ISED and the corporation. Some of the key observations, Chair, in the report under conflicts of interest: the board's policy does not require board members and employees to declare conflicts with consultants, expert reviewers, and other companies providing services. Wow. This is basic stuff. Now, we heard from the board chair that the reason she was selected was because of her extensive experience leading organizations. Well, I've never been the CEO or COO of Home Depot, like the now former chair had in her experience. But it would be surprising to me to find out that the head of a corporation like that wouldn't have to declare conflicts of interest. Like, this is basic stuff. The reassurance we got, of course, was that her lawyer said that she didn't break any rules. Well, at a very minimum, it's the appearance of a conflict of interest that people that are entrusted with taxpayers' money should be working to avoid. But when we have an actual conflict of interest, when we have a motion being actually moved by an individual who will then financially benefit from that, from the decision, and sits at the table while all of her fellow board members vote on it, that's unbelievable. And one of the findings of this report, it's incredible. The items that aren't redacted, we can see that when the board did take these decisions, they didn't have debates that resulted in any kind of dissent or split votes or examples where there was a question where some people agree, some people, wanted to abstain from this. Their decisions are unanimous every single time. Their decisions are unanimous every single time. And so when the board chair brought forward a motion that would give her company hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars, she knew that it would get unanimous approval, and sat at the table and looked her colleagues in the eye and then raised her hand and voted to give herself a couple $100,000 and then to her company, and then directly draw $120,000 from that company.
You still have the floor on the point of order, Madame Fortier. Go ahead.
I challenge this right now conversation about a motion that is not duly presented and also that UE had in camera a direction very clear on another motion. So I don't understand why we're having a debate on a current motion that is not, and I challenge this chair motion, this motion.
Appreciate your challenge on that. Without getting into the specifics of the other motion that was presented, there was no clear definition on a date in that motion. There was no timeline on that motion, and I clarified.
Point of order again, challenge that again. There was a timeline shared during that motion.
I'll have to, let me go back to the motion. Just give me a second, please. Okay, thank you, Madam Fortier. I am ruling the motion admissible. The difficulty that I have, as you can appreciate, is the language of the previous motion did not specify a timeline. And in the absence of any timeline in that motion, then this motion, which gives a specific date, is, in my opinion, admissible. So go ahead, Madame Fortier. You're still on your point of order. Mr. Barrett, you still have the floor. Go ahead, Madame Fortier.
And Mr. Chair, respectfully, I am challenging your ruling on this motion that it is in order.
Okay.
So, point of order.
So it's a non-debatable. But go ahead, Mr. Kirk. I'm going to allow you on your point of order.
Thank you, Chair.
Because
this appears to be a shameless effort by the Liberals to shut down a whistleblower from coming to this committee, Mr. Chair. This is an unacceptable.
That's debate. I appreciate that.
So the vote is on the challenge by Ms. Fortier on the ruling of the chair on the admissibility of the motion.
Correct.
So the question is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Mr. Baines.
No.
Mr. Long.
No.
Mr. Kellaway.
No.
Madame Fortier.
No.
Mr. Pawlowski.
No.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Monsieur Gould.
Oui.
Mr. Kirk.
Yes.
Monsieur Villemur.
Oui.
Mr. Green.
No.
Yeas 4, nays 6.
Okay. So the yeas have it.
No,
Oh, sorry. The nays have
Nays
it.
have it.
Yep. Sorry about that. So hang on.
debate can take place.
Okay, so my decision is sustained. Not sustained. Sorry, Madam Clerk, it's not sustained. No, I get that. Yeah,
Sorry about that.
yeah. So the decision is opposed. Mr. Kirk, do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, Chair, it is unbelievable that once again the Liberals have shamelessly attempted to silence, in this case, a whistleblower chair that has.
Sorry, he was on a point of order. Are you on a point of order? No, because you're on debate right now. Actually, Mr. Barrett still has the floor. Sorry about that, Mr. Kirk. I thought you were on a point of order. Mr. Barrett, go ahead, and then Ms. Fortier.
Chair, when we have an issue where tens of millions of taxpayer dollars have been identified out of a handful of projects from a $1 billion fund as being misappropriated, when we've had witness testimony at this very committee of the chair, the Prime Minister's handpicked chair of this slush fund, to admit to the committee that she gave herself hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is embezzlement. This is corruption. The reason there's an Auditor General investigation, so I wrote the Auditor General a letter. Following my letter, the Auditor General announces that reviewing the facts from the RCGT investigation or fact-finding exercise, that there's going to be an Auditor General's investigation. After we had the chair of the board come to this committee, I wrote to the ethics commissioner. The ethics commissioner has said that there is going to be an investigation. The violations of ethics laws are absolutely unacceptable. We have gross mismanagement, conflicts of interest, embezzlement of taxpayer dollars. A motion to have a whistleblower come before a parliamentary committee. Whistleblowers are the only reason that Canadians know that this happened. And to have members silence a whistleblower by refusing to allow them to come before the committee speaks to a government that is more interested in covering up their own corruption than being accountable to the Canadians who sent them here. I'm not done, Chair.
No, Mr. Barrett, the problem is that the admissibility of the motion was deemed not to be sustained. So the motion is actually not on the floor anymore, and the challenge we have right now is that it's not open or subject to debate.
Sure.
That's the problem we have.
Yeah,
so there is no debate that's to occur, so I can't allow you to speak any further, Mr.
Well,
Barrett.
Chair, you recognized me, and I don't believe that the standing orders indicate that there's a limit on time that I have before I have to put a motion before the committee, and so I'd like to continue.
Hold on, Mr. Barrett, please.
Only debate. You
Yeah.
can only debate a motion.
And Mr. Barrett, the unfortunate reality for you, sir, is that there is no motion on the floor that we are debating at this point. So there's nothing to say.
There's a limit on the preamble that I can give before I move a motion.
Are you planning on moving a motion?
Yes, sir.
Have you got it in both official languages?
That's not required for a matter at hand when we're in committee business.
Okay. So I would prefer that you move, if you can move your motion, and then we can debate it, and you'll continue to have the floor once your motion is moved, and then we can carry on.
Well, I appreciate your preference. I don't believe that that's necessary. So I'd like to continue. Speaking to the matter.
If that is the case, this is your motion. If that is, we should suspend.
So in advance of that, Mr. Barrett, we are gonna have to suspend again because the clerk has advised me that she's not seen this procedurally. And so I'm going to require that the clerk provide me with guidance on this. So
There is no precedent that I'm aware of, and I am very eager to hear it, where members at this committee have been limited in their preamble before moving a motion. That has not been your practice. It has not been the practice at previous chairs at this committee. It hasn't happened when I've sat on other standing committees in the House. This isn't the first time. And so while I appreciate that there may be an eager desire for this for me to not move the motion.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna suspend for a couple of minutes because I do need guidance on this, okay? When we concluded, Mr. Barrett had the floor. Mr. Barrett, I'm aware of your intent to move a motion. So I'm going to give you some latitude on, you had the floor. You're going to continue to have the floor, but at some point I expect that your motion will be moved. Go ahead, sir.
November the 16th, I received correspondence from the Conflict of Interest and Ethics
Point of order.
Commissioner.
Go ahead on the point of
I'm really
order.
trying to understand where we are right now, Chair.
So-
Because I challenged the motion that was brought forward.
Right.
I have a
So-
couple of lines in the Green Book, and I'd just like for you maybe to ask the clerk to refer how
just
this
did
is
that.
working,
Yeah.
because I don't understand, and I would like you to either repeat or make me understand. I'm very confused with the challenge I did, and now that we're kind of
Yeah, so
doing this. Thank you.
the challenge was upheld, if you recall, Madame Fortier. Mr. Barrett has indicated to the committee that he intends on moving another motion, which is fine. He can have a preamble to that motion, not unlike the preamble that you had when you moved the motion to adjourn the meeting when the RCMP was here. I'm giving Mr. Barrett, as chair, some latitude on the preamble, and I expect that he's going to move that motion. I asked the clerk to clarify this, and she did. And I'm quite comfortable with the position that we're in right now based on the information that I received from the clerk.
On that same point of order, Chair.
Go ahead on the same point of order. You have the floor, Mr. Barrett, on the same point of order.
So Standing Order 116 clearly speaks to this issue.
Yep.
And it says, in a standing, special, or legislative committee, the standing order shall apply so far as may be applicable, except the standing orders as to the election of a speaker, seconding of motions, limiting the number of times the speaking and limiting the number of times of speaking and the length of speeches. It says, end of debate, 2A. Unless a time limit has been adopted by the committee or by the House, the chair of a standing, special, or legislative committee may not bring a debate to an end while there are members present who still wish to participate. A decision of the chair in this regard may not be subject to an appeal of the committee. A violation of paragraph A of this section may be brought to the attention of the Speaker by any member, and the Speaker shall have the power to rule on the matter if, in the opinion of the Speaker, such violation has occurred. The Speaker may order that all subsequent proceedings in relation to the said violation be nullified. It not only does it not speak to a limit of time for the member to speak, it specifically says that once I move the motion, that until I'm done, and then until everyone who has indicated that they subsequently want to speak are done, then the matter is the one that the committee is seized with.
So thank you for that, Mr. Barrett. As I indicated in speaking with the clerk, I am prepared to give some latitude in the event that you are going to move a motion. You've indicated to the committee that you are going to move a motion, and so I'm going to give Mr. Barrett the latitude to speak in advance of moving that motion. And that time may or may not be limited, Mr. Barrett, so I want you to consider your time wisely. Go ahead, please.
Point of order again, sir.
Go ahead, Madam Fortier, on your point of order.
Thank you. And with your explanation, may I ask maybe to better understand, because I read at page 607, Chapter 13, in Procedure and Practice, 3rd edition. If a member moves a motion during his or her speech, for example, an amendment or a motion to adjourn debate, the act of moving the motion will normally terminate the member's speech. Therefore, I'm trying to understand, how do we continue discussing this if I have read this part at page 607 and trying to understand?
Okay, just give me a second. So I think I clarified it at the onset when we came out of the suspension. The previous motion that was presented was deemed inadmissible by a majority of the committee, which is fine. That's the committee's prerogative to do. So the debate on that particular motion ends. The issue now before us, and this is where the chair does have some latitude, is Mr. Barrett is intent on moving another motion. So in advance of moving that motion, he has the right to speak on that motion. As the chair, I'm giving him some latitude, which is my right to do. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Barrett to continue. So go ahead, Mr. Barrett, please.
On November 16th of 2023, I received a letter from the interim Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner. And the commissioner was responding to a letter that I had written. Now, in the letter, I laid out how Ms. Verschaeren, who was then the chair and chief executive, she is the chair and chief executive officer of North Star, or NR Star, and a beneficial owner of the company, moved a motion at a meeting of the board of directors for Sustainable Development Technology Canada to provide COVID-related emergency relief payments to a number of companies, including her company. And further to the motion being adopted by the board, the company received $106,000 in 2020 and $111,000 in 2021. Her participation in making these decisions that provided her an opportunity to further her own interests is contrary to Section 6, Sub 1 of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics. In the RCGT report, one of their key observations is that, quote, a backdated declaration of conflict of interest between the CEO and the expert reviewer was made under the direction of the corporation's external legal counsel. They hired outside counsel, and outside counsel's recommendation to the CEO was, because you didn't follow our conflict of interest practices, backdate them, and then you'll be compliant. That's what we're dealing with here. There's no other organization where that would be acceptable, and it can't be accepted at an organization that is supposed to be stewarding $1 billion with a B Canadian dollars.
Point of order, Chair.
Again.
Go ahead on your point of order.
So, Mr. Chair, I find the members' comments to be really all over the place right now, debating,
This isn't a point of order.
presenting, and I would like to know when the motion will be moved.
It's not a point of order.
That is debate, Madam Fortier, and I appreciate your comments. I'm going to ask Mr. Barrett to, come to the point where the motion is presented, but I am going to give you a little bit of latitude. Go ahead, please.
I appreciate that this is uncomfortable for government members to hear what's happening and that their government failed to take action. I understand that it's extremely uncomfortable when there's going to be a whistleblower who wants to come to the table and talk about how PCO was given this information nearly a year ago and didn't take strong action, didn't protect employees at the organization, didn't appeal for protection for the whistleblowers. I understand that that's uncomfortable. But getting to the bottom of this is more important than the comfort of members and the lack of understanding that was demonstrated by the minister when he came before the committee, who hadn't read the 300-page deck, who claims he wasn't aware of this until the end of September, even though we have his ADM on tape saying that he was made aware of it in the spring, that he was going to be briefed on it in the spring, and then to come before the committee and say, well, we took it so seriously that we ordered a forensic audit. No, they didn't. In the forward of the report, the fact-finding exercise that they did order, it's called just that. It's not a forensic audit. And that's why the Auditor General is going to look into it.
Point of order, Chair, here.
And again.
Go ahead, Ms. Damoff.
I know I've arrived rather late to this monologue here, but there's nothing uncomfortable at what happened. I thought Mr. Barrett was moving a motion. It sounds like he's preparing a Facebook clip here rather than actually preparing to move a motion.
Yeah, I've already ruled on this, Ms. Damoff. He's already indicated that he is going to be moving a motion. There is some latitude that can be given from the chair to him. I'm giving him that latitude. We've already discussed this.
So is what he's saying, though, Chair, does it have to do with his motion? We don't even know what the motion is. I don't know. How can you do the preamble like this?
This is why I've asked Mr. Barrett to expedite the process of him introducing his motion, because I am giving a fair bit of latitude at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
I'd say a fair bit of latitude is being given with the points of order that are being offered as well. So it's good to see that latitude is being evenly applied around the committee chair. We have one official from the government in Mr. McConaughey who said, first of all, he didn't know that he was being taped, which is probably when you get the most honesty out of them, I suppose. But he wasn't speaking for the government. Well, he's the assistant deputy minister. He's the CFO at ISED. Of course he does. And he's the one who said he didn't have confidence in the board. He's the one who said that he believed the whistleblowers. But that's not borne out in the actions of the government. So then it becomes incumbent on us to actually address the issue. And no, I'm fine. Thanks. That's when it becomes incumbent on us to address the issue.
I'm going to remind you, Mr. Barrett, at some point you're going to have to move your motion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. The Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner, the Auditor General, independent reports, 300-page whistleblower dossiers. I don't know what's enough for government members to think that maybe we should hear from the whistleblower on this issue. We're We're hearing that we did. Well, for those of you following along at home, no, we didn't hear from the whistleblower. And the opportunity to do that before you got here today was defeated. The committee voted to silence a whistleblower, and I can't abide that. I am incredibly concerned.
Just a reminder again, Mr. Barrett, just to be mindful of the discussions that were held in camera as well. Okay, just talking about that, just to make sure you're clear.
So I'm crystal clear, Chair. I'm speaking about the events exclusively of today. The events of today were that I moved a motion that the committee invite the whistleblower and the individual who contacted the committee to identify wrongdoings.
Point of order.
That wasn't defeated. It was ruled out of order.
Yes.
So let's be clear.
Point of order.
And to be clear, Ms. Damoff is right. It was.
These aren't points of order.
No, I know.
These aren't points of order. This is now open debate.
Right.
This is anarchy.
Okay, so I'm just going to Ms. Damoff, I think we all know what happened. Mr. Barrett also knows what happened. I'm going to ask him to continue. Be mindful of moving that motion soon, please, sir.
What happened at this committee was that I moved a motion that the committee invite the whistleblower, the individual who contacted the committee to identify wrongdoings at Sustainable Development Technologies Canada, to provide their testimony, and that the committee make every accommodation necessary to facilitate the witness testimony in public before Friday, December 1st, 2023. And what happened was the cover-up coalition used procedural tricks to make sure that didn't happen. It's as good as a no vote. Just like they want to silence me, we've got...
I'm going to call for order in the room, please. Mr. Barrett is still talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
These are the same members, Chair, who shut down a meeting when we had the commissioner of the RCMP here to expose corruption with their government. It's a bit of a pattern, you see. Every time corruption in the Liberal government comes forward, we have Justin Trudeau's hand-picked board chair comes before committee and outs herself as having embezzled, hundreds of thousands of dollars from taxpayers. And of course they don't want the whistleblowers to come before the committee. Of course they don't. But they don't even want us to talk about how they don't want it to happen. And I can't help but wonder, when we have a 300-page dossier presented to the Privy Council's office that lays out in great detail all of the issues with Sustainable Development Technologies Canada, be it with their fund stream compliance or their conflict of interest, lack of conflict of interest, guardrails, or their myriad of problems. How it is that that's not something that not only landed on the minister's desk, but how did that not land on the Prime Minister's desk? We have an ethics commissioner investigation. We have the Auditor General investigating. We have the only way to get government attention is through whistleblower reports to the media. We have leaked audio recordings of the ADM, the deputy minister, who is laying out the seriousness with which the bureaucracy took this issue. And then when it did land on the minister's desk, it suddenly became much less of a problem. They suddenly didn't believe the whistleblower. They suddenly did have confidence in the board and the executive. And when given the opportunity, members of the coalition took every step they could to block an invitation for the whistleblower to appear before December 1st. So I move that the committee report to the House that the NDP Liberal coalition has prevented a whistleblower from testifying on the $1 billion green slush fund scandal.
So, Mr. Barrett, you moved your motion. You want to just repeat it one more time for us, please?
That the committee report to the House that the NDP Liberal coalition has prevented a whistleblower from testifying on the billion-dollar green slush fund scandal.
I am going to suspend for a minute, if you don't mind, because I need clarification on this, okay? Thank you. Mr. Barrett has moved a motion. I am going to rule it admissible. And on the motion as moved, Mr. Couric first, and then Madame Portier second. No, but you. But that was when we were discussing it earlier. Okay. So I've made.
I'm going to challenge that decision.
Okay, it's fine. You can challenge it.
Okay.
If you want. We moved the motion. Mr. Couric indicated that he wanted to speak on the motion. You and I saw Mir's hand. So, Ms. Damoff, are you challenging?
I am.
Okay,
yes.
go ahead. Well, the order of speakers are being challenged. So, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
debatable. No.
So it's on the challenge by Ms. Damoff. Mr. Baines.
Yes.
No.
No, I mean, no, sorry. You didn't, I was going to wait for you to read it.
I will put,
Can you read it out?
I will put some
Yeah.
some context. So it is not on the motion, it is on the challenge of the speaking order of the chair. So Ms. Damoff challenged the speaking order, and the question is, shall the decision of the chair to give the floor to Mr. Couric be sustained?
No.
Ms. Damoff.
No.
Mr. Kellaway.
No.
Madame Fortier.
No.
Sorry, I'm looking at the substitute, Mr. Poloski.
No.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Monsieur Gourde.
Wait.
Mr. Couric.
Yes.
Monsieur Villemur.
No.
Mr. Green.
No.
So yeas 3, nays 7.
Okay, so that has been overruled. I appreciate that. 1 second, please. So what happens now? I did see your hand immediately after the motion was presented, and that's why I went to you first. The reality of the situation is that the committee challenged that decision. I have to live by the committee's decision, but I will put you on the list. But Ms. Damoff, you were on a point of order or not?
It was just on the same one. I understand when you gave the floor back to Mr. Barrett, you had said the speaking order wouldn't be impacted. So that's why we went a little crazy, and I just wanted to mention that. But I'll just leave it there. You've ruled, Chair. Thank you.
So, Mr. Couric, I do have you. I have Ms. Fortier, Monsieur Villemur, and then back to you, sir. Okay? Ms. Fortier, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
On the motion, correct? On the motion.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, on the motion.
I'm speaking also because when we had a plan, and we had a very good work plan, we did have a meeting in camera, and I can't speak to it, so I won't. And this is not even addressing what was shared by Mr. Barrett today. I can not even express how I would have preferred we were talking about social media. And this is really becoming a pattern of disrespect for this committee, as we had a work plan, and this work plan is not the one that we're following. Therefore, I move that the committee now adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fournier. Fortier, did I say Fournier?
Yes.
No, sorry about that. We have a motion to adjourn the committee. It's non-debatable, so I'm going to call on the clerk to take the vote. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Baines.
Yes.
Ms. Damoff.
Yes.
Mr. Kellaway.
Yes.
Madame Fortier.
Oui.
Mr. Poloski.
Yes.
Mr. Barrett.
Nope.
Monsieur Gourde.
No.
Mr. Couric.
No.
Monsieur Villemur,
Oui.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
yeas 7, nays 3.
Okay, the motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.